Hello, everyone. So we're going to take a chance here and record this for the second channel. I'm trying to get my whole entire face plus my body to show. All right, so YouTube gave me a strike, 2 strikes, for videos that I did 1 to 2 years ago. 1 year ago, the other one, I believe it was about 2 years ago. Every time I make a video that seems to have an effect across time, across the frequencies, anyone does this. Anyone who does this, the numbers are not going to show like they should show. Well, I mean, why would another world's numbers be showing in this world anyway? But this world's numbers are all hijacked anyway. So depending on how much love you have, the more you can reach the frequencies. But in any case, I was just, I've been fighting hard, trying to get my neck back, my neck / my energy back. I'm not completely back yet, but today was the first day, the first time that I felt so much better. It's been a constant battle. Details for book 5. In any case, as soon as I finished, I'm working from home. As soon as I finished my last class, I needed to do some grades, and I came upon this, and I thought I might share it. And what is this? Well, look at it. It's called Robin Lansong's NDE. I knew I was going home. But it's almost like synchronicity, me making that video about a call to return home. But I was going to click this off when she said something that caused me to pause. Let's start at the beginning, and we can skip around.
Coast, and I was with parents who were neglectful and abusive. That exposed me to a lot of pedophiles, a lot of other unsafe adults. One of those adults spotted me as a child that I wasn't really being protected, and he chose to abduct me. And he took me out of the country. Keep in mind, it's 1977. It's post-Vietnam War. So as best as I can remember, he drugged me, and he actually put me in a duffel bag. It went through his personal luggage that he carried with him. When I became conscious, I was in a small apartment, and he was there, and I kind of came to figure out when we went outside that it was a military base, and he was in uniform. My life was in danger at every moment. He did assault me and break my ribs. It was actually a neighbor that saved him from basically killing me that way. And I was hospitalized. No one stopped him from coming to get me, so he just walked in, said he was my dad, and took me. So he took me to a place where it was a market, and it was the first place I actually realized we were in Africa, because before, on the military base, I didn't actually see that many people of color. And in the market, it was mostly black. So he actually abandoned me. At that point, he gave me over to another man, and then just drove away. It was totally mixed, because on the one hand, I just lost the worst, most dangerous enemy to me in the world. On the other hand, he was the only one who knew where I came from. I had this, at least a fantasy that he was going to be the one to get me back home. And so with him abandoning me, I thought, how am I ever going to get home now? Because
let's move forward.
Right. And it's the height of the Rhodesian War. And there's 3 factions, and one of them, the extremist soldiers, picked me up and took me to a village that I'm assuming they think would be receptive to a white child. And also it was closer to the border to South Africa. And so these people took me in. It was a rural village, and they took me in. And what's so profound for me in that part is I came from not having mothering. I did not have, my mother wasn't capable of that. Now I know that there's many African cultures that it's normal for them to mother a child that's not their biological child. That sometimes they will take their sister's child into their home and then raise them as their own. that's normal in many African cultures.
Details things important. Like, okay, this is not like directly related, but like one of the things that I've cherished about the African culture is the fact that a meal is made and everybody's eating in the same bowl. I have always been impressed by that. A meal is made in a big pot. Let's say they're eating fufu with soup. Everybody is eating the same freaking pot, using their hands. That's love.
So what's exceptional is that they did that for a white child during a war where it was very dangerous for them to have me. And what I understand now that I've gone back is they could have been accused of abducting me, which would have been a very big risk for them to take me in.
Okay, let's move forward a little bit. I want to get to the part where I was like, really, I had to take a pause to take in the information, to consider it. I'm not at the point yet where I can say that she's absolutely correct, but I think there's a huge degree of truth to what she has to say. Or at least, I think she's right, but I don't want to be absolute when I don't know from the light level, you know?
Crossed over is that I was greeted by 2 Black women, and they.
Okay, so I have to remember that.
And I started to die.
She was shot by the same person, if I remember correctly, who kidnapped her. No accidents, probably a past life relationship person who just came back, you know? There are no accidents. So she was shot and she was basically dead. And she's telling you what's going on. What happened and what she saw when she, quote unquote, passed over.
So I was done for. So he pulled the trigger and the bullet grazed the top of my head and it blew me off my feet and I started to die of blood loss. And what happened when I first crossed over is that I was greeted by 2 Black women and they felt like my 2 big sisters, that they were there to greet me and to take care of me, and they gestured to a really big glowing orb, like a sphere, and I knew I could go into that and I would be fully restored. But I was so attached to that. I had just finally found family, and so I really wanted to stay with them. And that confusion sent me backwards and away from these 2 sisters. And then I went through a dark cave where I really had to purify my self-blame about being abused, the part of me that thought something was wrong with me. That's why adults abused me. And my guide really helped me see that there was nothing wrong with me and that the abuse wasn't mine.
I'm thinking. Tunnels should give us pause because, well, use your discernment. But I'm not going through a tunnel. I'll tell you that.
My fault. And we made it through that dark cave and I went to a field and there I met a being. He was had a beard and a robe with kind of long sleeves that was kind of felted material. And he had a sheep herder staff. And in his presence, I felt no disturbance because I was still longing to get back to my African family. When I was looking at trying to figure out who he was, his face changed to a lion. But, I want to show this to us. We're all connected by these living minds, like golden spider webs, and that in each of us there's a gem that I just leaned my whole being into his.
I'm trying to find a spot where she talks about her origin.
I went further into the tunnel and there was more beings that purified me, and I knew that I was going home.
It's here. Pay attention.
And home felt to me like my Lord's Fort Art.
Of course. Give me a second, people. Let's just mute it and let it play. Uh, uh, what did I just do? Let's go back.
I've never felt so
What?
close
Come
to the
on. I didn't
possibility.
lose that, did I? This thing is wallin'. Let's go.
I've never felt so close
All
to
right,
the
that's control
possibility
opposition.
of
All
destroying
right. Okay.
the Nephilim, the
George
giants.
Nori is totally control opposition. Anything to do with Gaia TV, control opposition, period.
That was the original place where I was sung into being, that I started as
Okay. This is
that
what
was the
this is
original
what slow down, lady.
going home.
Okay, so she got shot, she was killed, and she had an NDE, a near-death experience. And so this is what she said again.
And home felt to me like, my words for it are the great heart. And that was the original.
So home felt like Great Heart. Okay. Great Heart.
And I knew that I was going home. And home felt to me like, my words for it are the great heart.
The Great Heart.
That was the original place where I was sung into being, that I started as a sound sung by the great heart.
Did you hear what she said? She started out as a song. I don't even know how to even conceive this in my head. I don't have nothing to connect it with at this point except for the songs I've been hearing for the last couple of months. My ears are perceiving songs of death. Sorry, the song of the Matrix. Death, Matrix, they're all the same. And the song of pain from the entity inside who's been taken out little by little. And other sounds that are quite beautiful when I reach a certain step. So she was sung and that's a possibility. It's not that things are created out of like nothingness. Things can become an extension of you. So the breath that comes out of your mouth and is produced and rendered as sound is also alive. Colors are alive, and so are sounds. When I got that message in Mexico, colors are alive. If colors are alive, why wouldn't sounds be alive? They are alive and intelligent. Wow, this lady is telling the truth. Just got to put the pieces together.
And so I was going home to that place of origination, but I heard the song of my African mother, and it was so pure that I stopped to listen. And when I listened, it awakened my memory that I hadn't done my purpose, which was to also be part of the medicine singers like she is. And that I too was to sing people to help them remember themselves. And that desire to live that purpose is what turned me around in tunnel. And I turned away from, going towards unification and total purity, and came back. And as I started coming back, I thought, I'm not sure I made the right choice. I'm getting.
Dude, girlfriend, I totally understand. I say the same thing all the time. Not sure I made the right decision. There are days, man. That's not even. I understand.
Pain, I'm getting body sensation, and I'm remembering what's back there. But I already made my choice, so it was like a river kind of moving me out. And so I came back to my body, and my African mother was like this great protector. I felt so fragile. And so they took care of me for many days, and I was starting to recover and be able to get up a little bit. And so what happened next is that the soldiers came back and attacked the village. And so one of the other mothers, I was in a hut with her, and when she thought everything was done, she grabbed me and started to run, and I was on her hip.
All right, we can keep going with it. You can watch a video yourself. But basically, I wanted to share that. I just saw it, and I was like, I might as well do this now, because you never know. And I'm taking the chance because I have 2 strikes on my main channel. YouTube is being petty. We're going to make sure they lose the game, some shape or form. These things will not be forgotten. It'll be tucked away in the back of our mind to be retrieved when the time is appropriate. I'm been hammered right now. I feel like, well, in any case, kombucha definitely relaxes you. All right, so what do we have? Sound is alive. Colors are alive. Sounds are alive. Pictures are alive. Are you understanding? Dogs are alive. Cats are alive. Everything is alive. The biggest lie is that these things that are alive are not intelligent, and to be intelligent, you need a head like a human. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. You know who you are. Try to fight me in class.
Unfortunately, they were still there. And
I do have to apologize, people, a little bit here, because that was not really totally called for. But let me tell you what happens when you fast. You are so bluntly honest. And I don't want to apologize often in my channel, but I felt like there was an interference and I should say something. Okay, well. Okay, let me just go back a little bit to explain. I think it was about 3 months ago, I gave up sugar. Meaning, okay, all right, I gave up sugar 3 years ago. Well, not completely, but you know, and nuts, sugar, and fruit. But in the sense that I gave up, like, you know, cashews. I stopped making cashew milk. The chemicals in the cashews pretty much dropped the toxin level in my body, and I went straight to like overdrive. The balance had been tipped over to the positive, and something drastic had to happen. So now I feel everything. I feel everything. Not only do I feel everything, sometimes I'm a little too much blunt. So that's what's happening as I regain control of my total self to take out all of the rest of the negative entity inside. So excuse me, people. So basically, everything is alive. It's interesting how she said that she was started by sound. She was started by sound. So an extension of God or an extension of source consciousness is actually just simply putting yourself out there, which requires a lot of love. Why would you put yourself out there, any piece of yourself out there, where there's a possibility of darkness? That requires faith and wisdom. Source consciousness.